The most famous nicknames in world football are quite boring in my opinion. So, if you are like me and are sick and tired of people endlessly explaining why Arsenal are called the Gunners or Liverpool are called the Reds, join me on a journey across one of the most beautiful countries in Europe, looking at the wacky, poetic and indeed tasty nicknames of some Scottish clubs, from the Premier League all the way down to the 5th tier. 1. Aberdeen FC. The team Sir Alex Ferguson guided to European glory before joining Manchester United has a number of nicknames both past and present. The first one we will discuss is shrouded in mystery, as no one can accurately explain why Aberdeen are called the Dons. Amongst all explanations, 3 stand out, although none is viewed as conclusive. The simplest one points to the River Don that flows in the vicinity of the city, whilst others maintain that it came about as a contraction of the word Aberdonian, used to describe a person from Aberdeen. The nickname could also stem from the fact that when the club was founded in 1909, the word Don was used to describe a teacher or a university fellow, which makes sense since Aberdeen is a university town. One nickname that is no longer in use today is that of the Wasps, as Aberdeen used to play in a gold shirt with black stripes until 1939. As usual in football, rival fans also made up nicknames to call Aberdeen supporters, namely the Sheep, and another nickname that implies what kind of actions Aberdeen fans love to do to said sheep. The name is mostly used by southern teams to denote the more agricultural environment of the city. Over time, however, Aberdeen fans have taken back this nickname and regularly chant "The sheep are on fire" at their games. 2. Celtic FC. The only Scottish team to win the European Cup, the Lisbon Lions' most famous nickname are the Boys, spelled with an H after the B, and the Hoops. The unique spelling of the Boys reaffirms the club's ties to the Irish Catholic community that founded the team. In the old Gaelic way of spelling, the letter B is often followed by a silent H. The hoops, on the other hand, are pretty self-explanatory, as the green and white vertical hoops that have been on Celtic shirts since 1903 are one of the most recognizable patterns in world football. And if you came here for the more unsavory names used by Celtic and Rangers fans, I have to disappoint you since I don't want a full-blown sectarian war to erupt in my comments. 3. Dundee United. What many people don't know about Dundee United is that they beat Barcelona every time they played them, and I even have a short video on the topic. The club has a fearsome reputation on the pitch not only in their games against Barcelona, and their nickname of the Terrors reflects this. Their second nickname sounds just as cool as the first one's, namely the Tangerines, and you can probably tell that it refers to the colors the team plays in. Whilst making this list, I never thought that I would come across a team from a city in Scotland which has an average of 10 rainy days per month and temperatures that rarely exceed 20 degrees Celsius, whose fans are nicknamed the Arabs. Since you are all probably very confused, let me just begin by telling you that no, Saudi Arabia hasn't bought another European club, but instead this nickname can be traced back to a very cold winter during the 60s. In January 1963, Dundee United were supposed to play Albion Rovers in the Scottish Cup, but the pitch at Tannadice Park was completely frozen over. Since the club had already lost revenue on 2 preceding matches, cancelled due to the frost, some tar burners were brought in to help thaw the pitch. A negative side effect of this de-icing method was that all the grass was burned off alongside the ice. Not to be outsmarted by some burned grass, several truckloads of sand were brought in and spread across the pitch, with some lines hurriedly painted on. Somehow, no one protested the pitch being turned into the set of Lawrence of Arabia, and the game went ahead. 4. Heart of Midlothian. Hearts are currently one of the few clubs in the British Isles to be fan-owned, and if you want to see a video about them and their trials and tribulations, let me know in the comments below. In addition to being fan-owned and having close ties to their community and fans, they also have a very sweet nickname. After the First World War, Scottish soldiers returning home mingled with their Cockney colleagues auditioning for a Guy Ritchie movie and picked up some of their rhyming slang. Thus, Hearts became the Jam Tarts, which morphed into Jambos, nicknames that are still used today. 5. Hibernian FC. The arch rivals of Hearts, Hibernian, not wishing to get outdone by their local enemies having a culinary-themed nickname, got one of their own. Apart from the classic Hebe's name, they are also known as the Cabbage, and just like Hearts, this name came about through the use of some rhyming slang, as the word Hibs rhymes with cabbage and ribs. 6. Motherwell. The Well, as they are called, are said to have originally performed the famous Viking Thunderclap long before Iceland supporters made it popular at Euro 2016. The town of Motherwell is known as the steelmaking capital of Scotland, sometimes referred to as Steelopolis, which makes it sound like Bender's birthplace. Naturally, the local football team's nickname is that of the Steelmen, and the club's crest even features the outline of a factory complete with fuming chimneys. 7. Rangers FC. It seems that Scottish fans really do love their rhyming slang, as the classic contraction of the name Rangers gave way to their teddy bears nickname. The Jers, as they are usually called, rhyme with teddy bears, meaning that the club shop does not have to think too far to come up with new merchandise. 8. St Mirren FC. St Mirren are the only club in the world to have fired Sir Alex Ferguson, and like many clubs associated with the church, they are usually referred to as the Saints. However, a much more interesting nickname for the club is that of the Buddies. Whilst you may think that this refers to the jovial nature of their fans, this is another linguistic quirk attributed to the accent of the people from Paisley. The pronunciation of the word body, as in anybody, everybody, or indeed Paisley body, which is used to describe a person from Paisley, sounds very much like the word buddy, thus giving birth to this nickname. 9. Partick Thistle FC. For a very long time as a kid playing FIFA, I always misread the name of the club, thinking they were called Patrick Thistle, not knowing that Partick is an area of Glasgow. Whilst my stupidity is easily explained, their nicknames take some time to figure out. The first one, the Jags, refer to the jagged edges of the thistle in the club's name and on their badge. From this, through the clever use of, you guessed it, rhyming slang, their second nickname of the Harry Rags came about. And if you are unfamiliar with the horse races of the mid-20th century, Harry Rag is a famous jockey. The Thistle's third and final nickname is that of the Maryhill Magyars, which probably comes from the Maryhill area the club is associated with, and let's just say a wishful comparison to the mighty Magyars. 10. Arbroath FC. One of the most famous landmarks of the town of Arbroath is the Bell Rock Lighthouse, the world's oldest surviving sea-washed lighthouse, whatever that means. This landmark also gives the club its nickname of the Red Lichties, whilst the local fish smoking tradition, which is said to have remained unaltered for more than 2 centuries, also sees fans of the club called the Smokies. 11. Ayr United. A lot of people love to talk about honest football and how it is so much better than modern tippy-tappy tactics. Well, it doesn't get much more honest than this, as Ayr United's nickname is that of the Honest Men. The name actually comes from a Robert Burns poem called Tam O'Shanter, in which Tam, a Scots nickname for Thomas, is a local farmer from Ayr who likes to get drunk with his friends at a local pub and experiences a supernatural encounter on one of his drunken escapades, from which he barely escapes alive on his horse Meg. In this poem, the town of Ayr is called a town which none other surpasses for honest men and bonny lasses. 12. Queen's Park FC. The oldest club in Scotland, Queen's Park were a powerhouse in the early days of Scottish football, even playing an FA Cup final, being the only Scottish club to do so. Like Celtic, they wear hooped jerseys, however, theirs are black and white. This color combination, together with their distinctive passing style, gave them the nickname of the Spiders back when they were one of the best teams in Scotland. 13. Clyde FC. If you picture someone called Clyde, an American kid with a monster t-shirt might just come to mind, together with the word bully. Funnily enough, Clyde FC's nickname is that of the Bully Wee. However, this does not denote that they are little bullies, since bully in Victorian English means good or first grade, and the wee at the end denotes the smaller size of the club. 14. Queen of the South FC. I have to admit this club has one of the most interesting names I have come across, but their nickname is even better, namely the Doomhammers, which I first read as Doomhammers as I was researching this video, but the name doesn't have anything to do with any Hammer of Doom or any other fantasy RPG weapons, but is rather another quirk of the local accents in Scotland. The town of Dumfries, where the club is based, is right in the south of Scotland, and its locals used to travel further north to find employment. When they would return home, they would usually say, "I am going down home," or Doonhame, and I'm sorry for butchering that, meaning the Doonhammers are actually the Downhomers. 15. Dumbarton FC. Dumbarton were the first team and only one of 2 to win at least one league title in each of the top 4 tiers in Scottish football. Their club identity is closely linked to one of the most famous features of Dumbarton, namely Dumbarton Castle, which has the longest recorded history of any castle in Scotland. Situated on an old volcanic rock made of hardened basalt, the location has a very rich history which I sadly can't get into now, and is depicted on the club's crest, which features an elephant with a white castle on his back. The nickname of the club, that of the Suns, is also derived from the castle and its rock, as residents of Dumbarton were often called Sons of the Rock. 16. Forfar Athletic FC. They say football is crazy, and at first Forfar Athletic's nickname of the Loons might seem that they are even crazier than the old Wimbledon team. However, the name does not have anything to do with the team's mental state or them having a Tasmanian devil as a centre back. A loon is simply a local word for a young man. 17. Dunfermline Athletic FC. Dunfermline Athletic's nickname, the Pars, has been lost to time, and there are 4 possible explanations that are touted today. Some people maintain that the name comes from the black and white kits, which resemble a fish also named a par, whilst others point to the team's performances being either so bad that the players were labelled as paralytic, or so indifferent that they were on par in golf terms. A more convoluted explanation involves Southern sailors being stationed at a nearby Rosyth naval base, who brought a banner reading Plymouth Argyle Rosyth supporters, abbreviated to PARS, to one of the team's games. And as a last treat, we travel to Brechin, where Brechin City play all the way down in the Highland Football League, the 5th tier of Scottish football, and whose nickname are the Hedgemen. The name is drawn from a very interesting feature of their stadium, Glebe Park, which has a complete hedge running the length of the touchline. And so we come to the end of our wonderful journey across Scotland. If you like this video, remember a like, a subscribe, a comment or a share is really helpful for me to grow my channel, and I hope I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching.